In this video, I'd like to look at a Python program that reads in a text and then eliminates everything that's not a letter and then counts the frequency of each letter. And I'm going to use the collections counter. Okay, so if you want this code that I'm showing you, here is the URL. I'm bringing in from collections this counter. I'm going to sort of clean up the text I read in using regular expressions. So I'm bringing in RE. And then at one point, I want to sort of display all the letters and the frequencies of those letters. So I wanted a quick, convenient list of all the lowercase letters, and there was such a thing in string. So I'm importing string. Okay. I am reading a file, frost_woods.txt. It's just the name of the file here. So in the file structure, that file is next to my code. So there's letter frequency py, there's frost_woods.txt, and it's just of the Robert Frost poem. Okay, so I've read the file. I'm putting all the letters into lowercase by using the string method .lower. And then I'm going to use the regular expression substitute. I'm using a set, so that's the square brackets. I'm using a regular expression, taking everything from A to Z, which are all small letters, but then that caret indicates a not, so I'm taking everything that's not a lowercase letter, and I'm replacing it with quote, quote, so I'm getting rid of it, and I'm making that, assigning that, doing that within file_data, and I'm making that the new value of file_data, so I'm getting rid of everything that's not a letter. Then I am going to use this counter that I brought in from collections, and I'm just sort of trying to work my way through this book and making some examples of my own to see if I know what's what. And so this was on page 31 of this book on data structures and algorithms. And so it was, if you just here had text, then a string, this was a big long string in the end, then it's sort of understood that that is a bunch of letters, and so then that's what it's going to, that's the only thing it has to count. So it's going to count letters, and I just printed it here as it occurs. So let me run that, and then we'll have a peek at that. So the first output here is just the output of counter. So it's labeled with counter, and it's got these key value pairs, and it's put them in, it's displaying them here in the order of like most common. So the E, naturally in English, is the most common letter. It occurred 68 times and so on. Okay, so that's what I got out of counter. So I didn't have to do any explicit counting myself. Not that I'm against that, but I'm just showing that it is a built-in thing in Python. And now I'd like to sort of spit it out in my own way, to show that I can access, that I can control what I want from this counting results. Okay, so one thing I want to do is sort of make a little, baby histogram. And so here it is. My first baby histogram is in alphabetical order. So I'm saying A occurred 25 times, B 6 times, C 1 time. And so to achieve that, I use this string.ASCII_lowercase. So I imported string up above, so I'd have access to this ASCII_lowercase, all the letters. I'm looping over those letters. So let is an individual letter in the set of lowercase letters. And I'm printing the letter I am letter frequency is what I got out of counter. Um, it is, I guess the term is dictionary, but I might also say associative array. So I can use the 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 letter as the sort of like the index, the sort of a word sort of index, or the dictionary key to get the corresponding value, which is the number of occurrences, the frequency. And so here I'm using an asterisk. I was just using that as my marker in my histogram. And then I'm using another asterisk as multiply. So if I take a string and I multiply it by a number, then that string is repeated that number of times. So my asterisk is repeated in the case of A 25 times. And then I just repeated it again here to show at the end the explicit count. And I'm just showing you like two ways of doing it here. I can explicitly put in let, or I can use the format to put it into. So this was the first way I did it. And then I realized that was cumbersome and I could just use let, but then I ended up leaving one version of each in there, and they both work. This one's, a little more work than is necessary, but it does indeed work. Okay, so that is me looping through the letters. In my result of count, I think it is J and X that never occurred in the Robert Frost poem. So they are explicitly not in the result of the counter. But when I say, give me that, instead of giving me an error, it just gives me a 0. So let's see that down here. So here's the J. That's when I was printing it twice. So here's the alphabetical order down here, and there's the J of a 0. So this did not freak out when there, strictly speaking, is no letters or underscore frequency for J or X, but it just gave me the reasonable answer of 0. So that was nice to not blow up and give me an error. And then the result, when I just sort of slapped out counter, was in this sort of most frequent to least frequent order. So I thought, well, that might be another way I'd like it printed out. But I had to figure out how to sort of access this order. Now it's showing me this order here, but it's not sort of a nicely sort of easily indexed thing here. At least not that I could see, but it did have the output of counter had a most common method, so I could get the most common, and I said 26. And again, it didn't. There aren't really 26 of them. It didn't freak out that that there wasn't a J, there wasn't an X, so there were only 24. There weren't 26. It just kind of like went along with it. But down here, it's not going to. So it's going to give me the 26 most common, which is really the first 24. And so in this version, I am skipping J and X. And I probably have to do some not in. I'd have to find out like which letters are not in my set of keys or something. But I didn't do that. So anyway, but here I'm using the letter frequency, which was the output of counter. It had this most common method. I got the 26 most common letters, and it's putting them in this sort of descending order for me. And then the thing that came out of most underscore common method this thing that I called most, it was a list of tuples. So then I could do a loop over the list and then access the components of the tuple using sort of square bracket and index numbers. So here's my most. I'm looping for item in most, and item 0 was the first part of the tuple, which was the letter, and then item 1 was the second part of the tuple, which was the frequency. And once again, I'm multiplying the string star by the frequency and then also showing the frequency. And then that gave me my second histogram, which was sort of in this descending order, showing the. So first I did it alphabetical order, then I did it most common letter sort of order. And then if there are ties, it's alphabetical. No, it's not GUM. So I don't know what order it is when there's a tie, but I'm going to say it doesn't matter. I didn't care enough to look at it that closely, so it didn't matter to me. All right. That's what I wanted to show you, play around with this collection counter thing. Thanks for your attention.